Today I am excited to share an insightful section from the last chapter of Yoga Vasistha. This section touches on the idea of the universal Lord and how one can worship them. Now, many people perceive Hinduism as a polytheistic religion, but that's an oversimplification, right? Hinduism is far more intricate and complex. So while it recognizes deities with specific forms and attributes, it also acknowledges an infinite, formless, omniscient and omnipresent consciousness known as Brahman. In this particular section, Sage Vasistha narrates a conversation he had with the Supreme Lord Shiva. In this conversation, Shiva tells Vasistha, "Do you know who God is? God is not Vishnu or Shiva or Brahma, not the wind, the sun, nor the moon, nor the Brahmana or the king, not I or you, not Lakshmi or the mind. God is without form and undivided, not in the objects. That splendor, Devanam, which is not made and which has neither beginning nor end, is known as God, or Lord Shiva, which is pure consciousness. That alone is fit to be worshipped, that alone is all." Now, some might be confused by the various forms of Shiva mentioned here. To clarify, Shiva exists in his manifest form as part of the Holy Trinity, the destroyer deity, and he also exists as Mahashiva, which represents the universal form of Shiva, the supreme power of the universe. Then also there's Param Shiva, right, which is the ultimate source of all creation and dissolution. It existing as pure, undivided consciousness, or Brahman. So there are various forms. Shiva exists as both form as well as formless infinite consciousness. Following this, Shiva speaks to Vasistha about the best way to worship the Lord. Now, this is a very important conversation that they have. If one is unable to worship this Shiva, then he is encouraged to worship the form. The latter yield finite results, but the former bestows infinite bliss. He who ignores the infinite and is devoted to the finite abandons a pleasure garden and seeks the thorny bush. However, sages sometimes worship a form playfully. Now, the articles used in worship, wisdom, self-control, and the perception of self in all beings are foremost among all articles. The self alone is Lord Shiva, who is fit to be worshipped at all times with the flowers of wisdom, right? So what struck me about this passage is Shiva's emphasis on wisdom, self-control, and seeing the divine in every living being as the greatest offerings. Sadly, what we see in today's world is the belief that more merit is earned by the quantity of objects offered, flowers, fruits, milk, Ganga Jal, and incense. Many think that the more they spend, the more favor they will receive from the divine, which reduces worship to a kind of transaction. I offer and in return I expect a better job, high marks, a promotion, health recovery, and so on. But Shiva is very clear. Worship and devotion are not competitions. He says, the external form of worship is only a stepping stone, prescribed only for those whose intelligence has not been awakened and those who are immature like little boys. When one does not have self-control, he uses flowers in worship. Further, he says, meditation alone is true worship. Meditation is the real offering, far greater than any external ritual. True worship is performed in the temple of infinite consciousness. This worship is performed day and night perpetually with the objects that are effortlessly obtained and are offered to the Lord with the mind firmly established in equanimity and in the right spirit. For the Lord is consciousness and cares only for the right spirit. So very important to remember this point. The Lord should be worshipped with everything that is obtained without effort. The Lord should be worshipped by means of all the enjoyments that the body enjoys through eating, drinking, being with one's consort, and such other pleasures. So Lord has to be enjoyed with our pleasures as well. The Lord should be worshipped with the illnesses one experiences and with every sort of unhappiness or sufferings one experiences. So all kind of sufferings, illnesses, pleasure. The idea is that you remember Lord in everything, in all the experiences of the life. The Lord should be worshipped with all of one's activities, including life and death, and all of one's dreams. The Lord should be worshipped with one's poverty as well as prosperity. The Lord should be worshipped even with fights and quarrels, as well as with sports and other pastime. The Lord should be adored with the noble qualities of the pious heart, friendship, compassion, joy, and indifference. One should engage oneself in this worship at all times. One should regard everything as good and auspicious, realizing that everything is the one's self. One should worship the self in this spirit. One should abandon the diverse notions of this I am and this I am not, and realize that all this is indeed Brahman, the one indivisible and infinite consciousness. Now, understanding this requires certain wisdom. For those who divide the word into sacred and profane, or those who worship out of greed, fear, or the desire to escape life's problems, may struggle to grasp these deeper perspectives. Interestingly, Hinduism offers contrasting examples, like the example of Aghoris and Tantrics. There are even temples where meat and alcohol are offered as part of rituals. So these practices serve as a reminder that everything in the world is sacred, and the passage also says that, Shiva in this passage says that you treat everything as good and sacred, and it pushes us to rethink our notions of what is truly holy. However, because this book emphasizes self-realization through self-control, contemplation, and self-inquiry, often downplaying the importance of external rituals or devotion. If you read other scriptures like Bhagavad Gita or the Ramcharitmanas, they often emphasize devotion, bhakti as the most powerful tool for spiritual growth. But this book, it mainly focuses on contemplation and self-inquiry as means to enlightenment. Now the key here is to explore all these diverse perspectives, because Hinduism is a vast ocean of philosophy and practices, and no single text should be seen as the final word. So let me ask you, what are your thoughts on worship? Why do we worship? What do you think is the ultimate goal? And what is the best way to worship? I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts, and feel free to share your views, and I'll see you in the next podcast with another story and another topic. Welcome back. Today I'm concluding our exploration of the concise Yoga Vasistha. Now, after days of discourse from Sage Vasistha spoke about profound topics: the nature of creation, the qualities of a true seeker, the illusionary and dream-like nature of the world, dissolution, liberation, and a lot more. Along the way, we were introduced to many enlightening stories, like the story of Leela, story of Bhusanda. Vasistha's teaching helped Ram realize his true self, and eventually Ram becomes enlightened. Now, this entire story of Yoga Vasistha was narrated by Sage Valmiki to his disciple Bharadwaj. At the end of the incredible story of Ram's enlightenment, Valmiki shares a final reflection with Bharadwaj. It's on page 419. They who desire liberation should engage themselves only in such actions which are free from defects and desist from selfish and sinful actions. When the qualities of the mind are abandoned, it takes on the qualities of infinite. The Jiva is liberated when one contemplates, I am that which is beyond the body, mind, and senses. When one is free from notions of I am the doer and I am the enjoyer. When one realizes that all beings are in the self, and the self is in all beings. And when one abandons the waking dream and deep sleep states and remains in transcendental consciousness. That is the state of bliss, which is infinite consciousness. Immerse yourself in that ocean of nectar, which is full of peace. Do not drown in diversity. Thus, I have narrated to you the discourse of Sage Vasistha. Steady your mind with practice. Tread the path of wisdom and of yoga, you will realize everything. Seeing that Ram had become totally absorbed in the self, Vishwamitra said to Sage Vasistha, O son of the Creator, O Holy One, you are indeed great. You have proved that you are the Guru by this Sakti path, which means direct transmission of spiritual energy. He is a Guru who is able to give rise to God consciousness in the disciple by a look, by a touch, by verbal communication, or by grace. There are many stories on enlightened Gurus enlightening their disciples just by a glance or by a touch, simple touch on their forehead. So Vasistha is one of those Guru. Vishwamitra then says, however, the intelligence of the disciple is awakened when the disciple had rid himself of threefold impurities and thereby acquired a keen intellect. But please bring Ram back to body consciousness, for he has still many things to do, for the welfare of three worlds and for myself. Now Vasistha said to Ram, Ram, this is not the time to rest. get up and bring joy to the world. When people are still in bondage, it is not proper for the yogi to merge in the self. This reminds me of how once Ramakrishna scolds Vivekananda, saying that you still have a lot of things to do for the benefit of the world. This is not the time for you to leave your body. Ram remained oblivious of these words. So Vasistha thereupon entered the heart of Ram through the later Susumna Nadi. There was movement of prana in Ram and the mind began to function. Ram slightly opened his eyes and beheld Vasistha in front of him. Ram said to Vasistha, "There is nothing I should do or should not do. However, your word should always be honored." Saying so, Ram placed his head on the sage's feet and then proclaimed, "Listen, all of you. There is nothing superior to self-knowledge and nothing superior to the Guru." All the assembled sages and celestials showered flowers on Ram and blessed him. Thus I have told you the story of Ram, O Bharadwaja. By practice of this yoga, attain supreme bliss. Interesting story, right? And that brings us to the conclusion of the concise Yoga Vasistha, the story of Ram's enlightenment. I love to hear your thoughts on this journey and the topics we covered. If you are intrigued, I highly recommend getting the book and diving deeper, because we have just scratched the surface. The book is full of many other philosophical thoughts and many interesting stories. Thank you all for listening, and I'll be back next time with another story, another book. Until then, goodbye. See you.